All right, now it is time for the top 5 segment, man. And with it being the month of the Oscars, we're trying to stay consistent, trying to keep talking about all of these Oscar films. And so this week, it is Oscar-winning films based on true stories. And man, oh man, definitely had to do some research on this one because I felt like, there's so many that get swept under the rug because the big ones you remember from the Oscars are the best pictures, but there's so many other great films that come out. So I'm super excited about this because there's so many in here that I've watched multiple times and then had different opinions about, especially my number 5. Like the first time I watched Zero Dark 30, which is about, of course, the assassination of Osama bin Laden. I honestly I was young. I would say I was probably in junior high or just getting into high school. So I really didn't enjoy it. But then I go back and watch it now. I'm like, this is a great freaking film. It's very tactical. It's very, step by step how they executed this plan of attack. And I feel like, it won for best sound editing, which makes sense because, covert ops type shit. But to be able to have that new frame of mind to where you are able to change your opinions, and that's allowed in society, guys. Remember that you're allowed to change your opinions. But I feel like what Zero Dark 30 did was give everybody, specifically in the United States, an insight look of how this mission went down, which was so important to a lot of us, basically all of us. But yeah, Zero Dark 30, man, like I said, won for best sound editing. Great film. I really enjoyed it.
Totally agree, and that controversial because of how that story went down. A lot of people were not so fond of. I mean, they didn't hide the fact that we were locking guys up in dark boxes and blasting loud music and waterboarding them, and a lot of people had problems with the way it went down. So, but I love the movie. It was a fantastic movie. My number 5. Amadeus, rock me Amadeus. I freaking loved this film. He was so over the top in the performance in the lead role. This movie, of course, is all about the life of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, obviously. Fantastic film. And it basically ran the gambit, guys. It won Best Picture. It won Best Actor in a Leading Role for F. Murray Abraham. Best Director. It won Best Writing Screenplay based on material. It won Best Art Direction. It won Best Costume Design, Best Sound, Best Makeup, Best Actor in a Leading Role nominee for Tom Hulce. Just the whole thing it was nominated and basically ran the gambit. But if you like music and you like Mozart, you can't miss Amadeus. And like I said, it was just, they really go into the fact that he wasn't all there. I mean, and this movie really doesn't kind of hide that. And they're like, this guy was a little nuts. But it's a brilliant movie. And every time I see it, I click on it and watch it. Because it was just one of my favorite movies when it came out. And I've seen this one quite a few times. So if you've never checked it out, be sure to check it out. It's called Amadeus. And like I said, it's about Mozart. So yeah, my number 5, Amadeus.
Love it. My number 4 goes to The Imitation Game. Benedict Cumberbatch is in this one. And it's about the 1939 newly created British intelligence agency, MI6.
Yes.
And it recruits Cambridge, a mathematics alum, Alan Turing, who, of course, is played by Benedict Cumberbatch, to crack Nazi codes. And this one was such a crazy story, and it won for adapted screenplay. It's really freaking good, guys. I mean, not a lot of people talk about it, which is crazy. And I mean, I can't say that I'm better than anyone else because I've seen it, because I just watched it last year. So it's not anything crazy, but it's really good. It's one of those, like we always say, and I mean, I feel like we're saying it more often now, but I mean, it's true. The best form of education is through entertainment, and to learn about these historical events, I feel like is so special. But yeah, check out The Imitation Game. It's really freaking good. I mean, everybody loves Benedict Cumberbatch, so come on.
Come on, of course. You're right though. All of my top 5 are true stories. They're all real life stories, real life people, real life events. I didn't even realize that, but it's true.
I mean, it makes sense with the Oscar-winning films based on true stories. That is true. Our top 5.
It is true. It is true. but I mean, like, not even fictionalized. These were like full in, not just based
Yeah.
on true stories, but like
Yeah.
full in. So that's kind of, and I really love this one, The King's Speech. So if you guys aren't familiar with this one, this is about Queen Elizabeth's daddy, King Edward VI, when he was, what do you mean I'm king? Fuck! And he had to give the speech. The problem is, and nobody knew, King Eddie had a speech impediment. And he was a stutterer. And guys, this is, remember, he ascended to the throne during World War II. And he had to assure his country that he was the guy, that he was going to get them through this war and everything was going to be okay. And so this whole film is about his initial speech to his country, declaring, I'm the king and I'm going to get us through this war and we're all going to be okay. It's brilliant. I loved this film. They go deep into about how his wife found an interpreter, found somebody to work with him on the impediment, get him past his fear of speaking, and really solidified him as the king that we all know that he was. And then, of course, his abrupt death and sparking Elizabeth into, it doesn't go there. It stays very, very within King Ed the Sixth's story. But I personally didn't know that. I didn't know he had a speech impediment. I had never heard anything about that or that was even part of his story. So the first time I watched this, I was like, whoa. What the fuck? Okay, I didn't know this. So, again, like you said, learning history through art. Colin Firth is amazing in it. It's a brilliant film. It did win Best Picture. It did win Best Performance by an Actor for Colin. It won Best Achievement in Directing and Best Writing. So, yeah, it was slaying. So it did pretty well. But number 4, The King's Speech.
Yes, I love it. I love it. That's still on my list. So
you will love it. I'm
that.
telling you, it's a really good film. It really is.
Yeah, for sure. Well, number 3 for me goes to The Fighter. This one, of course, is about Mickey Ward and, man, oh man, the family drama this man had to endure during his rise as the legendary boxer. But this one won for Best Supporting Actor and Best Supporting Actress, which makes sense because, I mean, Christian Bale was absolutely amazing as Ward's brother. But yeah, I just feel like, the rewatch value on this film is amazing. I can't even tell you how many times I've watched this. But I mean, everybody has that family member who you're like, okay, they're a little out there. Okay, we got to watch out for them. Okay, we got to take care of them. And you'll definitely connect with it with this film. Definitely one of my favorites, to be honest. If we ever did a top 5 boxing movies, The Fighter would definitely be on mine.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Maybe that's next week's. I like that. Maybe. Love that.
But yeah, number 3 for me is The Fighter.
Good choice. All right. My number 3, it's one of the most iconic lines probably, and it's used over and over, and it's in memes. It's everywhere. It's a freedom. I'm talking about my boy Mel Gibson when he yells freedom on the horse with the war paint on his face and everything. Braveheart. This is, of course, the true story about William Wallace, the Scottish warrior that tries to fight for the independence of his country from King Edward the First. I just told you about King Eddie the Sixth. This is King Edward the First that was under overrule of Scotland, and this was about the freedom and independence of trying to break free. This one is epic. It's an epic story of fighting for freedom and coming out from oppression and sometimes the tragic deaths that requires to break free from that stuff. Mel Gibson was fantastic in it. It won for Best Picture, obviously. It won Best Director for Mel Gibson. It won Best Cinematography, Best Effects and Sound Editing, Best Makeup. I mean, it was an epic story. If you guys have not seen it, it's brilliant history and one of my favorite Mel Gibson films. It's so well done, and it really pulls at the heartstrings about, man, this is what it's like to be oppressed and have to sacrifice everything to get out of it. It's an amazing film. Braveheart, my number 3.
That one's still on my list too. I haven't seen that one yet. But man, oh man. Number 2 for me is Something Special. That's for sure, because everybody knows how much I love the one and only Black Mamba, Kobe Bryant. And I feel like, if he wasn't taken from us so soon, I feel like he was going to be more involved in the entertainment industry. He is an
Oh yeah.
Oscar winner. I'm not sure a lot of people know that, but he did win for Best Animated Short Film with his short film Dear Basketball, where basically he's hanging up his shoes. He is saying goodbye to the game he's known and loved all of his life. Not a lot of people knew, but his dad was also a basketball player, played overseas, and then that's where he fell in love with the game. And that's where he was finally able to feel like he became himself. But yeah, Dear Basketball, I still go back and watch it now
Oh
because I
yeah.
mean
Yeah.
it's a short form film that's available on YouTube, so everybody can watch it. But yeah, man, I would definitely say Dear Basketball is one of my favorite Oscar winning films of all time. So there it is.
There you go. There you go. My number two is I had to put it on the list because he's my guy. Yeah, he's related. Literally. My number two is Patton. One of the greatest films of all time. George C. Scott was freaking phenomenal in the lead role as General Patton. This bad boy won the Best Picture Academy Award. George C. Scott did win for Best Actor, but refused to accept the award. He said he just didn't feel like he was in any competition with the other actors, so he refused to accept it. Gave it back. They gave it back. It also won for Best Director. It won for Best Writing. It won for Best Art Direction, Best Sound, Best Film Editing, Best Cinematography. This thing was like, nominated for Best Cinematography. But it was an epic telling of the story of General Patton. And yeah, I've dug deep into the history of this man just because he is. I found out I was related to him, and I'm like, okay, I got to know more. So he's distant cousin on mom's side somehow, somewhere, someday. Went to the Library of Congress to dig it up, find out. But hey, listen, I don't know if this one's on your list, but it is an epic telling because he was one of the most revered generals in U.S. history, but not always liked. He did some controversial stuff, and he did not give a shit whether you liked it or not. So this movie kind of highlights that. So if you haven't seen it, guys, check it out. Patton, my number two.
Yes, that one is on the list because I haven't seen that one
Oh,
yet
it's
either.
so good. So good.
Number one for me goes to 1917. Of course, this one is about World War One British soldiers. It definitely won Best Cinematography, Best Sound Mixing, and Best Visual Effects, which all makes sense because they shot it to where it was that one continuous shot, and it was absolutely beautiful. I believe, can't remember if it was Ridley Scott or Sam Mendes, one of those two. Maybe Sam Mendes.
Yeah, I think so.
But they did amazing. I love this film. I love the song that's at the very end. Like it's something special. It makes you feel like you're right there with all those young men who are fighting for their country. But beautiful movie, beautiful. I mean, it very much well deserved these awards, but I also was pulling for Best Picture. It's fine. But yeah, 1917, man, my number one.
Great choice. Great choice. I loved it. It was hard to watch sometimes in the theater, but it was totally, yeah. My number one, Argo. Of course, I had to put it on the list because it's a true story about getting the hostages back from Iran and how that all went down. And it's a lot to do with Jimmy Carter, but really Ronald Reagan. And they touch that very briefly. They kind of really make this a love thing for Carter, but the whole reason they were kidnapped in the first place is because of Carter and what he did that they didn't like. Anyway, if you don't know the story, this is about a CIA operative mission undercover where they pretend to be filmmakers location scouting for a film, but they're actually operatives going in and taking care of business and arranging and getting our hostages back out. John Goodman, Ben Affleck. This thing is an amazing cast, an amazing film. And in my opinion, I'm just going to say it, I think this is what solidified, in my opinion, Ben Affleck as, like, this guy's a director. This guy is like, I think this is where he should be. He's good in front of the camera, but he's great behind the camera. This thing won for Best Motion Picture of the Year. It won for Best Writing, Best Achievement in Film Editing. It was nominated for Best Performance by an Actor, nominated for a bunch of stuff. But in my opinion, even though Ben didn't win Director, it was the movie for me that put it over the top, that he's like, this guy knows what he's doing, and he's got a huge career as a director. And one of the most famous lines ever, and one of my favorite lines ever muttered in a movie, go fuck yourself. It's literally the name of the movie, but there's literally a line in the movie where somebody's having a back and forth with him, and he responds with, go fuck yourself. Brilliant. But anyway, my number one, if you want to know the true story of how it all went down and we got the hostages back from Iran and that whole deal thing before Reagan was sworn in as president, Argo, you will find out the history. So there it is.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, let us know your favorite Oscar-winning films that were based on a true story. Please be sure to comment in the YouTube comment sections, add us at X or on Threads, or in the podcast comment section. We want to know. We love the fan interaction, so please be sure to reach out.